Okay, so I think we're recording. Is it saying that it's recording right now? It doesn't say it on the screen, but let's just pretend. So first things first, just for the record, I'm recording how to basically perform a pull request against one of the lab type items. So the first thing that we do is we navigate to the lab. You can see that this lab, the 7B and then digits lab, exists under the DSI East 2 organization namespace. So what's the first thing that we have to do when it comes to making this lab ours? Fork. We have to fork it, right? And why do we have to fork it? So
make a copy in your own enterprise.
Yeah, so you can't make changes. You don't have right access to this repository because DSI East 2 is the owner. So by forking it, click on fork over here, you can fork this into your personal namespace over here. So you can see that I'm a member of multiple organizations because I'm very popular. But I want to go ahead and put it into my personal namespace at Greg. So I go ahead and I fork it. It makes a copy, saying forking from DSI East 2 into 7B-NN digits lab. And now you can see that it exists, the same lab exists in my namespace, which is over here, right? And it says where it's forked from as well. So everything that you fork has a history in the commit history over here of where it came from. Does that make sense? So I currently own a copy of this lab that knows that it came from DSI East 2. Sound good? Okay. I will take your silence. All right.
You own a copy inside GitHub in the enterprise section.
Correct. Yes. Everything is up in the private. I haven't brought anything to my local machine. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this. So I click on clone or download, and I want to make sure that I'm using SSH over here and not HTTPS, which I think you should all be doing by now. So just double check. I click on the clipboard icon to copy this to the clipboard, and then I migrate into my terminal. So I can see that I'm currently in home Greg GA. It's my current working directory. So what I'm going to do is git clone, and then I'm going to paste in my the lab that I'd like to clone. Note that it's coming from my personal namespace over here, right? So I go ahead and I hit enter. It clones into 7B-NN digits lab. And if I do an ls of this directory, I can see that this 7B-NN digits lab now exists in the current directory. That's where I put it, right? So I'm going to go into the 7B digits lab and move this over here. And now I can see the contents of this directory are the same as what we have in GitHub, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is, what is the first thing I'm going to do? Ask you guys.
Getting it.
No. Why do I not have to do a git in it?
So the folder is already initialized.
Correct. It's already initialized, and I can do that with an ls-a. I can see that I have a git directory over here. So that's a hidden directory because it's prefaced by a dot. So if I do a git status, then I can see that it returns something, essentially, right? When it returns something, that means that the directory that I'm currently in has been initialized as a Git repository. So it recognizes it as a Git repository. Make sense? Additionally, if I do a git log, I can see that I have a whole commit history as well. So if I do a git log on a brand new repository, then I wouldn't have any commit history. But here it has inherited all the commit history that from its parent fork repo. Does that make sense? So everything that existed at DSI East 2 is carried with itself through the forking process, and I can see it right now. All right, so clearing that up, here's my directory. The first thing that I want to do, if I do a git status, I can see that I'm on branch master. Due to merge conflicts, what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be checking out a new branch. So we want to make a new branch for ourselves. So if we do git status or git branch like that, then we can see the branches that exist within this Git repository. Currently, how many branches are there?
Just one.
Just one. So how do I make a new branch?
Git checkout.
Yes. Git checkout.
C.
Well, when in doubt, check the help. Git checkout dash check help. So git checkout, if I scroll down a little bit, I can can see that I have this -b flag over here. So if I do a git checkout -b, then I can create a new branch. Right? So I can do git checkout -b, and then the name of the new branch I want. In general, you can name it really anything you want, but I'm just going to call it working. And then when I hit that, then what it says is it says switch to a new branch working. So now if I do git status, I can see that it's changed from master to working. And if I do a git branch, I can see that now I instead of just having master, I now have 2 branches, and the asterisk denotes that I'm currently on the working branch. Make sense?
What if you just need to switch branches?
You just say git checkout. So like, let's say I want to go back to master. Then what do you think I would say?
Check out -b master.
Git checkout
-b master.
Okay, the issue is if I do -b master, what do you think is going to happen?
You'll make a new branch.
It'll actually throw an error. It'll say master already exists. So what I do is if the branch already exists, if it doesn't exist, it creates it with the -b flag, and if it does exist, it throws an error. So if I just do git checkout master, now it switches me back to master, and if I do git status again, I can see that now it goes back to master. So I can move between the branches. Make sense? So I'm going to go git checkout and then working again. Now I can see that I'm on my working branches, which is where I want to be. Make sense?
So when you first check out, you have to do -b, it's a new, you're making a new branch that doesn't exist.
Correct. Yes, making a new branch that doesn't exist. Cool. So now any changes that I make to any files within this repository will exist on the working branch and the working branch alone. Make sense? Okay. So I'm going to move back to our notebook over here, and I'm going to open this file up. So I'm going to go to File Open. It's up a few directories, and it's in this 7NN Digits Lab. And what I'm going to do is just add this one file over here. So I'm going to open the file, and then we're going to do some work. So like let's say that we did some work. I'm just going to put a markdown cell over here. I'm going to say this is the work I did. And if I go ahead and run that, then I can see that I've made a change to this file right now. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this, save checkpoint, and then I'm going to go ahead and close the config. Now if I go back and I do another git status, I can see that I've modified this file, digit recognition.ipython notebook, and it shows up in red. What it means when it shows up in red is it shows you 2 things with this. One is that you've modified it, and then the other thing is that it's not tracked. So it says changes not staged for commit. So essentially you can have 2 different types of files. You can have you can have 2 different states. You can have a file that's staged for a commit, which is basically it will be included in the things that you push to GitHub when you do your git push. Or you can have files that are not staged for commit. So if I were to do a git commit and a git push, it wouldn't actually have any updates in it because I haven't added it to the current commit. Make sense? So how would I add these files to my current commit?
Git add.
Git add, right? So git add, and then what?
File name.
The file name. So I could say digit recognition, or I could alternatively say dot to do everything in the current directory. However, I'm only going to add digit recognition. So now if I do git status, I can see that it's gone from red to green, and it basically says changes to be committed, right? However, I also have untracked files over here, right? Now I'm going to show you guys a little trick, and that trick is essentially it's a thing called the git ignore file. So it's essentially a file. It's a file that exists in your repository that you've plugged here. It's a text file. And it basically has a list of extensions of things that it doesn't track for changes. So for instance, if you have like configuration files, if you have API keys that you want to keep secret, if you have checkpoint files, if you have CSV for like data files and you like large files, you can include those extensions or the file names themselves in a thing called a git ignore file to basically tell Git to not include it in your commit. Does that make sense? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this guy, the IPython checkpoints, to my gitignore file. So I'm going to use vim.gitignore. You can do this a couple different ways, so I'll show you another way to do it as well. So if I do vim git ignore, then I can go and I can, actually I see that there's already an entry in here. So it looks like this repository actually came with a git ignore file, and they're ignoring CSV files. You see that? So I'm going to add an additional line in here. So using vim, I hit the O key. I paste in what I want to ignore. So I want to ignore the Python notebook checkpoints file. And then what I'm going to do to save the file is I'm going to say Control-C, colon, and then WQ to write and quit the file. Hit enter, and now what I have is if I do a cat of .gitignore, I can see that I have those two things that are not to be tracked. However, if I do git status, I can now see that I've modified, but I haven't staged this for commit. Notice that the IPython notebooks, or the IPython checkpoints, .ipy and b checkpoints, is not shown here anymore because it exists in the gitignore file. So after I create my gitignore file, I then have to add that as well. So I can say git add.gitignore. Now if I do a git status, I can see that all is well with the world. I'm tracking my gitignore. It is correctly ignoring both CSV files and the Python notebook checkpoints. And then I also have modified the digit recognition.ipython notebook, right? However, not everything is super just yet. What I'm also doing is I'm tracking this README file, and I really don't need the README file, because when I do my pull request, I haven't really made any changes to that README file, and I don't really care about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the README file. So I just do rm README. Now you think that that would remove the file forever, and it does remove it forever within this branch. And I'll show you something neat about Git. So if I do rm readme.md, you can see that the file itself is gone, right? Now if I do a git status, I can see that I have deleted readme.md. So to add that file that I've just removed, I can do git add and then dot, and it will add deleted files as well. Now if I do a git status, I can see that I have the deleted file that's then added to my queue as well. Make sense? So it's a little weird, but it's kind of a Git trick. So now I've deleted that one, I've modified this one, I've added in my gitignore, and I'm basically ready to go. At this point I could do commit, I could do git commit, and I could do git push, and everything would be good. However, I'm going to show you something kind of neat, and if I do git branch, and now let's say that I wanted to get that README file back, I could do a git checkout. Here, I'll show you real quick. Notice that the readme.md does not exist. If I do a git checkout, and then I put in master again, notice that what happens is it, oops, hold on a second, git branch, okay, I have to do a pull over here to get this back. But because I've already done my, my add of these files, if I had done my commit and then I go back to master, I would retrieve those files back. I'll show you that in a second, but I'm going to go back to my working branch. All right, so everything's back the way that it was. I do a git status, and I'm ready to commit. So to do my commit, what do I do for my commit?
Git commit dash m.
Yep, dash m for my message, and then I put in my message. So why don't I say, and then a general description of what you want is good. So I could say completed lab, and then I could say remove readme. So just a general, status update is good. So git commit dash m. Now I add that in. Now if I do git status, it says I'm on branch working, nothing to commit, working true clean. Basically what that says is now my work has been committed to the git log. So if I do git log and I look at the top, you can see that the commit that I just did, which has this commit hash, this unique identifier, has been added to like this permanent ledger of commits within my repository. And it's up at the top. So that's why when you say git status, it says, hey dude, I'm cool. Like it says everything's cool, everything's been like committed correctly, it's in the log. The only thing that's missing is that essentially I haven't pushed this to my remote repository yet. Make sense? So what do I have to do to actually push it?
Git push origin working.
Git push, origin, and then I can double tab here and I can see the different branches that I can push to. So I've got master, and then I've got working over here as well. You can be verbose and you can say like origin master, origin head as well, but you can just say working for this. So git push origin working. Now what I'm going to do, go ahead and push that. It goes ahead and it pushes the file up to Git. And now if I go back to my Git over here in this guy, you can see it automatically updates and it says working less than a minute ago, right? So I'm currently on the master branch, which is this guy right here. Let me point to for you. So I'm currently on the master branch, but then it said recently pushed branch is working. So what I can do at this point is I can switch to the working branch by either clicking on this, or what I can do is I can also click on this. Oh, I'd have to refresh the page to do that. So if I refresh the page, I can see that now I have working as an option under my branches that I can go to. So I click on working, and then notice that the readme.md has disappeared, and I've inherited a git ignore file. So it's essentially just the files that I've updated, which is like the cleanest way to do it, I think, you know,
So
and all the extra trash.
it doesn't seem to work for me though, because I always change the lab names from starter code to something new,
Okay.
and it still leaves like the starter code, even though it says deleted on my git status.
Mm-hmm.
When I push it, it still shows up in my working directory.
You just have to do a git add dot. That's what you have to do. And then it'll track the deleted file.
What happens if I've already pushed it? Can I go back and delete it, or?
If you've already pushed it, you can push over top of it with a deleted copy. That's the cleanest way to do it. So you essentially delete it locally, git add dot, and then do another push, and it'll remove it in the next minute. Does that make sense?
Yeah, trying out. Okay.
Okay, so so at this point, what do we want to do? We have all our work up on GitHub, and now we want to do what?
Do a pull request.
Do a pull request. So how do we do that?
New pull request.
New pull request. Cool. Do I go to this one or do I go to that?
Which one you want?
I don't know,
Okay.
just scroll up.
The left.
Yeah. Okay. So you go to the one on the left. New pull request. This button's always going to be there. This whole bar right here may or may not be there. Like if you have a recently pushed branch, then it'll show up. But if you don't, then that's not going to show up. So in general, I think it's best practice to use this button right here because this button will always be here. So click on new pull request, and now the most important thing with this is we have a new open pull request prompt, and then what do these buttons mean? Somebody walk me through how to do this.
Which button?
Specifically these buttons on top. So we have 4 buttons. What do they mean?
Oh, it's just where
Oh, it's basically like when you git push master working, that's kind of what that is. Like what's on the left is the first one,
Okay.
like
Can
from
you-
where to where.
Sure. From where to where? So what is the guy on the left? Where's that coming from? Is that us or is that's
That's the main one that you fork from
yeah.
your base fork.
So the folks on the left are where we fork from, and then what are the folks on the right?
What do you want?
Right, which is well. Look at the namespace. What does the namespace of these two guys say? We've got Greg/7b digits lab, and then we've got DSID-7b/7b digits lab, right?
Mhm.
So where's this guy coming from? This is where we pulled from, where we forked from.
Yeah.
And then this guy is what?
That's your repo, right?
Right, yeah. This is our copy of that forked repo, right? So basically this is where it's coming from on the right, and then where it's going to on the left, right? Now to break that down into smaller pieces, this is, the left part of this is the namespace or the organization where it came from, and then the right part, or the right drop down, is the branch that it came from, right? This is the organization or the namespace that we have, and then this is the branch that we are issuing the pull request for, right?
So in yours, you could have left it as master.
I could have left it as master, so I can still do that. The thing is that for master, they're identical because I haven't made any changes to master. Additionally, if I do make changes to a final master, then I potentially have merge conflicts as well.
Okay.
So that's the reason why we created a new working branch, right?
No, that makes sense. I was just curious, it's technically possible.
All good, all good. So you can see that I can also access like other pull requests as well. Like for instance, I could go over to your repository potentially. I don't think I have edit privileges, but I could do pull requests across different things. But essentially, it's going to be coming from us on our working branch, and we want to make a pull request, or we are requesting that the owners of DSI East merge our changes on our working branch into their copy on master. Does that make sense? So we can leave it just as is. There aren't any changes that we need to make. However,
Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
They're not, I mean, it's just gonna be held there for them to review, they're not gonna actually
Correct.
be updated, but it's just, that's how we're turning it in.
Yep. A pull request is a request to the original owner of the file to pull your updated file to merge with their stuff. Unless you have write access on the repository, which we don't, all you can do is basically make that request, then they have to review it and determine whether or not they want to merge it. So at this point, you can say, you can leave basically some comments. So you can say like, dear Greg, this is where it's helpful to basically say like the nature of the change. Like, dear Greg, I very much enjoy performing or doing so you can say thanks, and then put in an emoji for good taste. Put in an emoji for good taste.
Seems a bit passive aggressive.
Just a little passive aggressive, I guess. And keep in mind, if you scroll down, you can also see all the changes to the files themselves. So you can see that we only have a couple changes. We've added a git ignore. You can see that we added IPython notebook checkpoints. This is sort of getting into the reads, but essentially the left copy, the left side of this, notice how there's a split down the middle. The left side is what they had, and the right side is what we've added to it or potentially deleted. So you can see how some of these change. Like, it's kind of difficult because in this case we're comparing a notebook, and a Python notebook is actually a bunch of JSON. So when you view it in GitHub, it'll actually show up as like a bunch of JSON, which is a little bit difficult to read sometimes. Cool. And then over in the, you can see over in the readme.md, it shows up as all red over here because we deleted everything, and our new file was essentially blank. So that's why that shows up that way. So that's a full list of changes. So this thing's ready to rock. So let's go ahead and click create pull request. And you can see that we now have an official pull request, right? Now, what's cool is I do have write access to this repository, so I could merge it. However, if you guys were doing it, you wouldn't have write access to the repository, so you wouldn't be able to merge that immediately. Once again, you can take a look at the commits that I issued personally. You can see that I can do one commit or potentially multiple commits as well. And then finally, I can see all the files changing. Now, if you want to look at the differences, you click on Files Change, and then if it's a Python notebook, you can click on View over here. And that'll actually show you a rendered version of the notebook that's human readable. And if we scroll down, we can see that we have the changes that we made to it. Make sense? So just to tie this up with a nice neat little bow, if I go back to DSI East 2, so if I go back to the original repository, you see what this is over here, DSI East 2, now I'm back in the original organization. If I look at pull requests, you can see that we now have one pull request that's been issued. See, it's a 1 right here. So if I go into that, I can see that, lo and behold, completed lab, removed README, number 1 open and a right. Now, this is what it would look like on the receiving end. See, dear Gregory, very much enjoyed doing this lab, thanks. And then the files changed as well. I can go in and check out the file. So that's it. Any questions or?
Yeah, for the labs, where should we be doing the pull request? Like under the DSI East or under yours?
Yeah, it's wherever it came from. So in this case, this lab is came from DSI East 2. It's where you originally forked it from. And to my knowledge, all the labs that you're going to be doing are within the DSI East 2 space.
But when you push it, it's under your profile.
Right. But I didn't know if there was like a local Austin cohort place to put them.
No, it's all local.
So, basically, like on your machine, after you clone the breadboard, you create this branch, working branch.
Right.
And then suppose you delete some file by mistake,
Mhm.
you can still recover from master.
Yes. Yep, yeah, so if I go back to, if I go back over here, I can see git status. You can see I'm on branch working, and currently I have basically no files in here. All I have is my digit recognition. Now if I clear this, and now if I do git checkout master, you can see that I have my original files have been restored. You see?
So they're always same, synchronized.
Correct. Yes.
So you never have to worry about it.
Mhm.
You're
Yeah.
taking file like this.
Yeah, you can always recover your changes.
So in class, when we're starting to work on our labs, if we go ahead and make our working branch, make a new branch before we start working on them.
Yeah, so keep in mind that the branch that you're on only matters when you do the commit. When you hit the commit, when you say git commit -m blah, right, when you push that button for the commit, it gets committed to the branch that you're on at the time.
Because in
you
that
say-
branch, you're adding the changed version.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you can, so if you clone a repository and you forget to do git checkout -b, that's cool. Just keep doing your work, and before you do your commit, do your git checkout -b, and then commit to that branch.
So always make a new branch?
You don't always have to, but it's
Just
considered better practice to perform your work on a separate branch, then confirm that it works, and then merge back into master,
And then push it.
and then push it. Yeah. So do your other work. Go ahead, issue pull requests, do all your testing, make sure that everything's kosher, and then merge back to master.
So if I like keep making branches, I'm putting like a different, like a copy of that file on every single branch.
If you keep doing branches, you're putting a copy of that file.
like you keep the original in the master.
Yes, so for instance, like right now I'm in master. What I can do is, if I do git status, I can see that I'm in master. I could do git checkout -g, and then I could call it Greg. Now I'm in a new branch called Greg, and I have a copy of the master file.
And if I haven't committed it, I'm making a copy of like the file that I forked down from GitHub. Right, the original file. Okay. So like I can make changes to like all of them, have like 500 copies and 5 different branches. And then what happens to those branches when I like commit one to like, like when I do git commit on one, I still have all my other branches, right?
Yes.
Okay, but I just made that one the master one.
The master one's always going to be master.
Okay.
Keep in mind that if it shows up, like if we were to go back to my repository over here. Let's go back one more.
Oh, I just committed those changes on that branch.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, and you can move between the branches. Jeez. You can move between the branches by clicking on this button right here. So you see how I can go back between different branches, it'll just show up as a new branch over here. Keep in mind that the branch doesn't exist in GitHub until you actually push it. So like, I have that, right now I'm on branch Greg, you see, but it doesn't exist in GitHub because I haven't actually pushed it.
Okay.
Cool.
So suppose you're working on a branch, working branch, and then you want to duplicate this directory to do some tests or something.
Yes.
Or you restructure this directories. I mean, does it affect? Is it going to mess up?
The parent branch.
Yeah, you duplicate your current directory.
Yeah, so keep in mind when you do a git checkout -b, if you modify a file, the change doesn't propagate backwards. Right. So you know how we did a git checkout -b working, and how we deleted a file and then we made changes to the file. When we go back to the master branch, the files are in their original state.
So that it's going to create a problem.
What problem would it create?
Well, so never. I mean, you create a this copy there. It's irrelevant to this. It's still, the person is wrong.
Right, it doesn't affect the changes of the master.
That's good.
Yeah, working, any changes that you make to working won't propagate to master. But you can make them change as well. So like, for instance, if I could say git merge, and then I can say working at this point, and you'll note that I'm currently on the Greg branch, right? So if I do a git merge working, what it does is it merges, basically what it does is it takes the changes from my working branch and merges them into the branch I'm currently on, which is Greg. So now if I do an ls, you see how it's added git ignore, it's added a line to git ignore, it has added a few lines to digit recognition, and it's deleted readme.md. So now if I do an ls, I can see I'm on the working branch, or I'm on the branch Greg, but I've inherited the changes from working branch, from the working branch. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but what if there are like two same name files, then before you launch?
Then you'll have what's referred to as a merge conflict. So at that point, if you have a merge conflict, then you'll be prompted, like the interface with Git will prompt you and say, hey, you have a merge conflict, and it creates a new file where you manually have to, you either accept one version, the other version, or you manually make changes to rectify the merge conflict. Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording just so we have something like that.
Okay.